All right, so thanks everybody for showing up to our Facebook ads Q&A here. The awesome Ellen Creekmore, who is our resident Facebook ads expert. Do you just want to give us a bit of information about yourself, Ellen, who you generally work with, and what you do, and of course your favorite flavor ice cream, as I'm to ask.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you say Ellen or Alan? I got a little confused there.
Well, you can
Yeah,
hop in after that, but we're going to start with Ellen.
Yeah, so I do mostly Facebook advertising, and but also do like just general marketing and things like that as a whole. There were like, I don't know, I guess it's been like the last 6 years or so. But yeah, I work with mostly, like, I like to say it's like they're adventurous entrepreneurs, because it kind of ends up being like people who have something unique, or like travel based, or like podcasters, or like just something different besides like your typical brick and mortar local business. So yeah, like adventurous entrepreneurs who are just wanting to try something new with their Facebook advertising. I put a big emphasis on like knowing your ROI, your return on investment, and being aware of those types of things. But yeah, right now, I guess like how you say, like your home base is Vancouver. My home base is Santa Monica. But travel a lot. Like I was saying, I've been traveling around Europe for the last couple of months, and before that, house sitting and just kind of living remote life is nice. But yeah, and my favorite ice cream is the brownie batter, the half-baked Ben & Jerry's. Normally I would say like chocolate chip cookie dough, but then I discovered half-baked, and it was like, okay, my life is forever changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite.
Very nice. And I know we've talked before about Facebook ads for I was inquiring for both myself and my clients. And I know I really appreciated that you have a mindset that it shouldn't be as expensive as a lot of Facebook ads implementers, I guess, jack up the prices to be. So
Yeah.
if anybody, I'll just say if anybody is looking to have somebody handle their Facebook ads, whether that's like short or long term, Ellen is awesome and has my full endorsement.
Yeah, I don't like it when people charge like outrageous amounts for when I know what they're doing. It's like, I know that you're not putting that much time and effort into it.
Right. Because I've talked with a few people before who there's this whole just retainer fee basically, which is like, I'm pretty sure I can like do that, but
Yeah.
or you're expecting me to pay $400 or $500 a month or whatever it is. Like, yeah, and I can't afford that. All right, so we got quite a few questions from people in the group. So I'm going to start off with some of these. I guess the first one is that a lot of people, myself included, have experimented with Facebook ads. It's really easy. They, promote it, like boost this post and reach even more people and all this. And most of us who do that do not get any significant results. And it feels like we're wasting our money. So maybe even just give us an introduction to how to think about Facebook ads if we're looking to whether boost a podcast or just how we should have the mindset for that.
Right. So typically, I don't typically like recommend you start with boosting posts as like your first like Facebook ad foray, at least, unless like I think one of the questions was saying like, can I use like if I'm just going to want to spend $5 or $10? Well, if you want to spend $5 or $10, then boosting posts is your best option. But if you want to actually like give Facebook ads a try and like see if it's going to work for you, then boosting posts is not necessarily the direction to go. I would actually go into your ads manager and go through setting up a campaign, having like a result. And the reason why is that kind of forces you to think through like what is your goal of the campaign and what are you trying to get out of it? What message are you sending? What audience are you talking to? And it'll walk you through that whole process. So what I say, if I'm setting up a Facebook campaign, like before you even like open up Facebook, you should think about like, what's my goal? Like, what do I want out of this? Do I want more email subscribers? Do I want more downloads on this particular episode? Like, do I want more people to my website? Am I promoting a free ebook or an event? Like, have what it is your goal is, and then work from there to create your audience and your campaign and things like that, rather than just like a impulsive. Facebook is relying and hoping that you'll do this, where it's an impulsive, I'm going to spend $20 on a boost post, and I haven't really thought through what the point of that is. So that's what I like to say, just kind of start with what your goal is and then go from there.
Okay. So maybe for podcasters in particular, is there a certain objective that you think is probably the smartest way to approach it? Obviously, people have different goals, but is there something that you think is overall the most helpful way that you could apply Facebook ads to a podcast, let's say?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and I came up with a couple of different options of if people wanted to try this out. One is someone asked, I think, about the location, location targeting and things like that. And so I was thinking, like, that's interesting. When would you use location targeting? Because typically I say location targeting is for like a local business, like you have a zip code. But I was thinking is like, well, if you are a travel podcast, or if you interviewed someone who's like a local celebrity in a certain area, that would be a good time to promote that episode with location targeting. If you have interviewed someone who's got like a pretty big following, like if you have, you're really proud of this episode, they've got a great following, great audience, and you think this is a great way that can boost your downloads and your subscribers, then promote that individual episode for a Facebook ad campaign. I would promote it to multiple audiences. I would say, create an audience that is that the person that you interviewed, create an audience that's their audience. Like you can go into Facebook and you can target their audience, or you could even, in the process of asking them to be your guest host, like ask if you can target their email subscribers into Facebook or things like that, to help boost their recognition too. If you're already running a campaign, they may be willing to let you do that because you're going to be spending the money. They may be willing to let you use their email list. So, create an audience that's targeting the people who follow them, and then maybe the people who are like, let's say if it's like, the first person I think of is like Marie Forleo type business type character. So you're interviewing someone like that. Well, then you would also target people who are similar to that, like the similar audiences that crossover. But just promote that individual episode. And you could send the link that you would do for that. You could do a couple different things. Like if you do show notes on your website, and you'd like to always send people to your website to go to the episode or to read the show notes, and you can maybe capture their email addresses and stuff, then put the link to your website. Or you can do a campaign that is only for people, this would be something fun I kind of thought of, which I'm a nerd. I'm thinking, this is fun. But if you did a campaign that was only to people on mobile devices, and you can set this all up in Facebook Ads Manager, but only to mobile devices, and the link that they click on is actually the link in iTunes. So you can do mobile devices, only iOS. So they actually, when they click on the ad, it opens up directly in their podcast app. And they could just click listen and download, subscribe, and it's like the easiest process for the consumer.
Oh, that's really smart because, on desktop it's not. Then it takes you to iTunes page, and then you have to open up.
Exactly.
So, that's a really smart way to.
And you could do the same for Android. You can target just Android users and do like the Stitcher link or whatever too. So that'd be something interesting for promoting like individual episodes.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't necessarily. You could give it a shot, but I wouldn't recommend starting out with promoting just your podcast in general. Because in Facebook, you're telling a story. Like, why is someone going to click on this? They're not going to Facebook to look for podcasts. They're going to Facebook to look at their friends' pictures, to watch some videos, maybe get some news, and to see a story. So if you have an episode, like if it's a political podcast and you're doing a political episode, in the copy and in the image, make it look like it's a political story, and they click on it and it takes them to the podcast page to listen to the story, rather than promoting it as a podcast specifically, because that's not what they're going to Facebook for. Thinking about it as you as scrolling through your Facebook feed, what would you click on?
That's really interesting. I haven't thought about ads that way before. Do you think, in your experience, in some of the ads I've run, some of the ads that I've seen, like my clients run, which because I like their pages and interact with them a lot, I'm super targeted for them. So I see them everywhere. They follow me around all my devices. And I'm like, I already know these people. Leave me alone. But that there made me think of, do you think there's backlash to that against people feel tricked into clicking on it, or it doesn't really matter? Some people are going to be annoyed anyways. And I know that you see that you'll get a lot of comments on any type of ad often where people feel tricked. What's the trick to managing those kind of reactions? Are you going through and deleting all the negative comments that are either trolls or people who don't understand that, you're running a business and the goal is to actually make money, but while also helping people or whatever the goals of your podcast are?
Well, I mean, like if the language of the ad is like, we interviewed this person, or like want to hear whatever, insert funny story that they tell in the podcast, want to hear about this story with this person or whatever, and that's the copy. And then the image is saying like that you interviewed them, or if it's like a narrative fictional story podcast, like tell what the story is about, like get people hooked, think of it as like they're reading the back cover of a book. Like what would you want someone to open the book and read? It's the same thing. So I don't think it's misleading when you're doing that. You're just it's an interview or it's a story. And then as far as like the comments on the ad, obviously you can recognize trolls like and bots. I always delete bots. I don't want people putting spam links on my ads that are gonna get people's viruses, things like that. Like that happens. Unfortunately, there's people out there that do that. But those are typically the only comments that I delete, unless someone is like entirely just like way out there and ruthless, like you don't want people cursing and things like that on your ad. But like if someone's asking a question, or if they're saying, oh, this takes me to a podcast or whatever, then I would just respond to it, say, yes, this is a podcast where I interviewed this person. If you have any questions, you can message me about it. So that's kind of what I do. And sometimes if the person is genuinely curious about the business, or they're putting something in there, I respond to the comment, and then I'll even like message them personally on Facebook from my Facebook page, and just say, hey, I noticed you commented on my post. If you have any questions, maybe this can help. I'll send them a blog post or an extra resource or something like that. Depending on whatever their comment was, if you can tell that they're genuinely like curious.
That's good to know. So I know so you were saying that's by starting with promoting the podcast might not be the best first tactic. I know a lot of people will do a page like campaign and then retarget later. Maybe first you can describe just like what retargeting is in Facebook ads for anybody who is not aware of that term, and then maybe we can get into whether that's a good strategy or what you would recommend.
Yeah, so with retargeting, I think there was a question about the Facebook pixel, so it's kind of they're intertwined. So when someone clicks on the ad, let's say you're pointing them to your website. Oh, bless you. No, you're good. So they're clicking on your ad, and it's taking them to your website, where you have your show notes page, whatever, and that's your strategy. Then you would have had installed your Facebook pixel onto your website, and that's like, I don't know, to me it's a little complicated sometimes to explain, but it goes in the header code and all these things. Facebook walks you through the instructions of how to do it. But the pixel is so that when people click on the link and go to your website, Facebook tracks that. And let's say that they clicked on the link to your website, but they didn't click on the download page that takes them to a thank you page. So I typically use like retargeting things when I'm promoting like a free ebook or something where I have a thank you page. So I can say they went to this landing page, but they didn't get to the thank you page. So that means they didn't actually click on what I wanted them to click on.
Right.
They just went to the page and didn't go all the way through. So then I will retarget those people. I'll create a campaign like that says that through the pixels that it says like they went to this page, but not this page. And I'll create a campaign that targets those people. And I can, I like to change up, obviously I'll change up the ad so it's not the exact same ad. And that's another way you can kind of avoid that like annoying thing. You're seeing the same ad all over the place, is by creating actually a different ad for their targeting group. and because they've already seen your page, you can have fun with it. You can say, hey, like maybe you forgot to click on the link, or you can like, you can say, hey, look, is there something that a different point that was on the page, or a different reason why they would want to download it than what was the original ad. So that's retargeting. It's targeting an audience that they've already seen an ad, but you're targeting them with a different ad. If that makes sense. It's kind of a flowchart type thing, but yeah.
Okay. And so then the other part of the question that I know I've heard a lot of people do is doing a page like campaign, where that's a lot easier win, where you're running an ad just to get people to like your page. And I know we've had a lot of discussions in the group on page versus group. You cannot target a group as of yet, I don't believe, but you can target pages. So that's one benefit to having people like your page. And so like my understanding of it is you've got at least semi-warm audience there who's somewhat familiar with you, and you can then run different ads, maybe more personal than you would to just a mass audience. What are your thoughts on that kind of strategy?
Um, to be honest, I don't typically recommend running ads that are going to get people to like your Facebook page.
Okay.
I don't think that's a good ROI for you to spend your money on that, because this is what I would recommend. If you want to get more Facebook page likes, do a normal campaign, like run a normal Facebook ad campaign. Every time I run a Facebook ad campaign, I get more Facebook page likes. So I'm getting ROI because I'm doing a campaign that has a goal, that has a purpose, and I'm getting the Facebook page likes. So I would suggest that over just paying money to get people to like your page. Okay. I understand the point of wanting to get more traffic, more warm leads and things like that. But you can get warm leads by uploading your email list into Facebook and creating an audience from that, installing the Facebook pixel and targeting people who've gone to your website over the last 120 days. Those are other different ways that I would use to get warm traffic versus spending money to get page likes. I would spend money on a campaign that is then also going to give me page likes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or even I would recommend boosting a post to a cold audience and then you'll still get page likes from that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of then maybe a first campaign that you think would be the place to start, what would you recommend there in terms of specifically looking at a podcaster?
Right. So, I mean, it depends obviously on your budget. Like I said, if you have $10, $15, $20 to spend, maybe I would budget that out like once a week or however often you maybe have a podcast episode. Just put in your flow chart of what you do when you publish your episode, then I boost a post with it for $10, $15. And just do that for every episode, and you'll see an increase in traffic, you'll see an increase in links and likes if you have the smaller budget. And then once you've maybe feeling comfortable with that, or maybe you have a really, like I said, like a really great guest that you know has a big audience that you want to tap into, or you're going to be doing a launch coming up, something like that, or you're giving away a free ebook or free resource or something like that too, then I would run a full campaign. You can start it's kind of hard to throw out budget numbers because it depends again on what you're selling or what you're advertising. If you're advertising something free, then your budget can be lower and you still get likes. If you're advertising something that's paid, then your budget needs to be a little bit higher in order to get you need to show it to more people to get people to buy it.
Yeah.
Because your conversion will be a little bit lower. But, yeah.
Okay. So I think probably most people in the podcasting space who would be interested in this might have, let's say, a free ebook or, video or whatever it is, might have some kind of opt-in for free. So with that in mind, what do you think is the necessary budget to do it effectively? And obviously people have different goals of how many downloads and how many sign-ups or whatever that is. But like, what's a good starting point?
Right. So like a free ebook for a good starting point, I'd start with maybe $100. A good, because really you start with how many downloads you want to get, and you say it's cost per download. Let's say like cost per conversion is the specific Facebook word, because you would set up a conversion campaign. So your cost per conversion, a good number is like $5 to $8 per conversion, depending. I mean, it's obviously lower the better, if you have a really hot audience, but $5 to $8 is a good number for something that's free. So then I would say, okay, well, how many downloads do I want to get? If I want to get 10 downloads, I need to spend $100 because it's going to be about that.
Right.
So just keep that in mind, like what that is. And then as you run campaigns, you'll learn more what your exact cost per conversion is. And then it'll be really easy to figure out your budget from there.
So what do you think I think there's a lot of discussions we've had in the group about, is it even worth it? And so I think that depends very much on what your goals are and your audience and all of this. But like for a lot of people, $5 to $10, let's say, per conversion, per download or sign up or whatever that is, they might have in their mind, like, I want to run a Facebook ad campaign and get 100 or 500 new subscribers. So that, I take it, is an unreasonable expectation. But on the other hand, why is it worth it to still maybe run the campaign? And what are some maybe case studies that you've seen it that be used effectively?
So I think here's an example of when it's worth it is, so you're doing that, the free ebook, let's say you start with that. Now this is a person, you already have an email list, maybe a few hundred subscribers, you already have an email list, you have your giveaway, and you've got a pretty steady following on Facebook, over 1,000 likes on Facebook. And you run a campaign for your free ebook that they're giving out, and you spend maybe $300 and you get to build up a specific email list, all for the purpose of you're launching a product, like you're launching a paid book maybe, or a paid resource in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the time is.
Mm-hmm.
So the ebook that you're giving away for free is related to the paid resource that's coming down the line. So you're building up an audience that is then later on going to potentially buy from you. So the first campaign that I would do is for that free ebook, build up a specific email list for them, and you're able to reach people that don't know you. That's the benefit of Facebook. That's why you want to do Facebook ads to begin with, is to expand your audience, and to get more people onto your email list, so that then people who don't know you now know you. Mm-hmm. And then your second campaign you do later on, that you're advertising your paid resource, well, at least 5% of that audience is going to convert and buy. Now, if it's a high enough dollar, like for example, I mean, I've done campaigns where I'm selling something that's $90 and we make 6 figures in sales just from Facebook ads. Mm-hmm. That's a profit from Facebook ads. Not like we didn't spend $20,000 on Facebook ads. It was a significant, I think it was like 5,000. It was a lot. But when you're making that much in sales, but it's because you have an email list, you have a following on social media, and you've been kind of priming them for this sale that's mm-hmm. coming. Okay. That's when Facebook works, that's when, and when it works to bring in a cold audience to you, and then you sell something to them that they're interested in.
Yeah. And so I think it's probably worth just reiterating that probably when you're putting out ads to a cold audience, like mm-hmm. they're not going to convert on the $90 product, that it's better exactly. to target them with a free offering. And then when you're retargeting or targeting, building off your email list, like they're already on your email list. So that should be a paid product.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just knowing who to target to. And whenever I do set up a Facebook campaign, almost always I at least have one like warm traffic ad set and one cold traffic ad set. So I'm targeting people that are familiar with me and then people who aren't familiar with me. Mm-hmm. And you'll see, and as you do it, you'll see like, your cold traffic's going to be a lower conversion and it's going to cost a little bit more than the warm traffic. That's just kind of how it works anywhere in any types of advertising. Yeah.
What about duration? Like what kind of time frame should people be approaching running a campaign for?
I mean, it depends. Like, honestly, like it's hard to say. Like, it's hard to say, really. Because I've done like flash sales where this is only a sale for 3 days. But those are people who have a big audience, and that is like a big build up to that, where it's only on sale for 3 days. But we've been working on it for 3 months, mm-hmm. behind it. So a typical campaign, let's say just a free ebook type campaign, or a podcast episode with, like I was talking about, where you interviewed someone that you think has a big audience and you can get more downloads from them. I would run it for at least 2 weeks at minimum. Okay. One reason for that is because it takes some time for Facebook's ads to even just get going, like just to get steam going. Facebook's not gonna, like, when you put in $20 as your budget, $20 a day, the first day, most likely it's not gonna spend $20. Mm-hmm. Facebook kind of ramps up its spend. And so you got to give it time to ramp up the spend. It says, like, even it'll give you a little notification that says it's learning from your ad, mm-hmm. So like who's going to click on it and things like that. So you got to give it time for the audience and for Facebook to algorithm to work itself out.
Okay. So how about in terms of maybe design? I know there's some restrictions on what Facebook actually even allows you to post as the image. In terms of like text, how much of the image is text-based and all that.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, it was not much nicer when they had a strict rule that said 20% of this can only be text. Now they don't have a strict rule on that. They just reject it if there's too much text. So, I mean, it's basically like industry-wise, we say, like, even though it's not the rule, it is still the rule. Don't have more than 20% of the image in text. But I typically I like to split test things. So I'll either split test the same image, different copy, or the same copy, different images. just to see which does better, and you can turn off whatever doesn't work and just test to find what works best for your audience. So I'll always test images with people in them, and or like images with like, you know, you have like your desk shot type of thing, depending on what you're advertising. Think about pictures that you see in your newsfeed. You see pictures of your friends, you see pictures of, you know, family members, all that kind of thing, and cool, you know, pets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, so you want it to blend in, and not look like here's an ad.
Mm-hmm.
But it does help like to put in like the title of it. If you have a well-known face, like if your brand, all of your stuff has your face on it and your audience knows your face, put your face in the Facebook ad. You know, if the person you're advertising has a well-known face, put their face on the Facebook ad. Like definitely 100%. Because I think sometimes people feel self-conscious. They're like, oh, but people know me, but like I don't want to be on the ad. No, like you gotta put that aside and just for the sake of the ad, you know. Yeah.
Are there any legal issues that you know of there with, let's say you have a podcast guest and you have their face on the ad? Obviously, you know, it's probably wise to clear that with them, but can that get you into trouble?
I've never had any problems. I mean, I've always just kind of, whenever I'm like, say like I'm doing a bundle or something and it has products from a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And I'll like, the person I'm working for will message them all and just say, hey, we're doing Facebook ads. We're going to include your headshot in it. Is that okay? Yeah. And maybe they'll even send an updated headshot and say, hey, I would prefer if you use this one or something like that. Or like if usually you run into problems when it's like their product logo, you know, you want to make sure that that's okay and stuff too. Just make sure that they're aware so they don't see it and be like, yeah. And make sure that, you know, it's like, don't put their face on something that it's not actually related to them. Like, they need to be the actual guest in the podcast you're advertising.
Yeah. And so you mentioned split testing there before. How many do you start with variations? Is it just 2 and then you might add another one once you eliminate one, or do you start with multiple and whittle it down?
Well, the bigger the budget you have, the more variations you can have. If you have a small budget, just stick with 2. I would do, you know, 2 ad sets, 2 ads in each ad set to start with. So you have 4 ads total, so that your budget isn't split where it's like so distributed. You're not spending anything on any ad, you know? So that's what I would do, but always be testing something. So even when you turn one ad, let's say that this image does better than the other image and you turn the other image off, create a new ad to test, maybe different copy this time. Just always be testing because you never have got it perfect. You've never got the best that it can be. That's another reason why, you know, you need to keep it running for some time so that you can test different things. Yeah. And that way, maybe not that particular campaign, but that way when you go to create the next campaign for another episode, you already know, well, I know that this particular image my audience already really loves. I know that they love this call to action. So you've got something to start from and you're not starting from a blank slate every time.
Okay. Do you just want to give a quick definition there of, you mentioned ads and ad sets, just for anybody who doesn't know how those fit together?
Yeah. So the basic structure of a Facebook campaign is you have your top level as the campaign. That's where you choose your objective. Like you would choose, it's like clicks to the web page, conversions, you know, just all the different types of campaigns you can run, videos, types of things. Then underneath that, you have ad sets. A better way to think of it is audience. Ad set is where you set like who it's going to be going to. So I usually have a warm traffic and a cold traffic. And so I'll have, you know, my Facebook page likes or my email subscribers. That's an ad set. And then like people who like this page, that's an ad set. And then underneath those ad sets, you have your ads, which that's where it's your copy, your image, what you actually see on Facebook.
Yeah. And so then the point there is that you would run the different audiences are going to respond to different ads. So it's not like the same ads are going to the same to different audiences.
It gives you an opportunity to test different things. And you don't have to do different ads for every ad set. Like you can do the same ad for every ad set, but as long as you're testing maybe different images or something like that.
Yeah. In terms
it helps you separate the ad set helps you separate your budget and helps you separate, like ad set level is where you would choose only iOS devices or only Android devices or things like that, only show on Instagram, or that's the level that you would pick that at.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of that, what do you find, is it smart to you have the option of like newsfeed, desktop newsfeed, mobile newsfeed, Instagram. How do you generally run the same ads across all the different platforms?
Typically, yes. Right now, I always try to run ads both on Facebook and Instagram, unless it's something where it's like, actually, there isn't a single time that I haven't run an ad both on Facebook and on Instagram. It would have to be something where I know this is only the 30 and up age group or something. That would be the only time I'd only run it on Facebook. It would have to be something like that. Yeah. So I always just run it both Facebook and Instagram. And actually, when you go, so that's at the ad set level, you would choose both Facebook and Instagram. At the ad level, when you go into look at it, you can change the cropping of the image that's shown on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yeah.
So you don't have to upload separate images anymore. They've got it as a way that you can just easily adjust the crop.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that for how it displays natively in the app.
Unless you wanted to do different copy for different Facebook and Instagram, that would be something. But it's not necessary, especially with a smaller budget. Like I said, you don't want to split it out too much.
Okay, cool. In terms of building your audience when you first get in, and let's say it's a cold audience and you're trying to reach new people, do you have any tips on just where to even begin? That you get in there and it's a blank slate. What should people be looking for in terms of like audience size and maybe some kind of key places that they can just remember to make it easier on who to even target in the first place?
Yeah, so something to know is like whenever I work with entrepreneurs, I'm like, look, like your audience best. Like you should know your audience inside and out. You should know what they read, what they like, what other entrepreneurs are in your field, who are you competing with, like what other podcasts do they listen to? Like those are types of things and questions you should be able to answer. And when you answer those questions, that's what you put into your Facebook audience. That helps you like fill it out. Another thing to do you can look at is just go into your Facebook page and look at your followers. You can see all kinds of statistics and analytics things about them. You can go into audience insights in Facebook's ads manager. It's under the tools, it's a thing called audience insights. You can actually look at all the Facebook users and it'll show you all kinds of bar graphs, like what do they buy, what are their favorite stores, like where do they shop, like all those kinds of things. So I start sometimes in there in the audience insights. I'll type in the page of whoever it is I'm doing their ads for, and I look at what does their audience look like right now, and it'll show me what other pages that their audience likes, and I look at those pages and see what are they doing, what language are they using, what copy and images are they using, what's resonating with that audience. So if you put in your audience, it may show you like a really popular maybe they follow the Serial podcast or something, a really popular podcast that they all follow. Well, then you can target that in your ads and the interest targeting.
Okay.
It'll show you location too. It'll show you maybe only 50% of your audience is in the US when you thought it was closer to 80%, and you can target by location when you go to set up your campaigns.
Yep.
So things like
that.
Okay.
Yep. And in terms of size, what do you recommend going for? 'Cause I think it's probably more a matter of whittling it down sometimes. Well, in some cases it would be building it up, but if you don't want to advertise to the whole, well, not whole world, but whole of Facebook.
Yeah. So when it's your warm traffic, it's going to be small. Typically maybe only a couple thousand, but your cold traffic, that's when you kind of have to whittle it down. Okay. Like probably if you just type in Serial podcasts and US, it's going to be like 2 million people or whatever. It's going to be a lot. So if your budget is smaller, then you don't have the money to advertise those people, and you don't want to, because 2 million people is not going to cross over with you and what you're advertising. So I try to keep it, like less than 1 million for sure. And then just depending on the audience from there, what it looks like. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, and I think I had one question from Lisa in the group that she wanted to ask. And then we'll open it up to everybody else who's on the call. And so she was asking about, I'd like to ask a question about what content makes good Facebook ads. So I think we kind of covered this already, but she says, the ads I mainly see, obviously targeted at me, are usually from parent bloggers. I'd like to experiment with a Facebook ad in the next few weeks and I'm wondering what angle to use. And she runs a travel podcast, which is more targeted at, I would say, people 30 and older. I could go with travel and could write a little tailored post about travel family, travel parenting, and could do it specifically tailored to one of the guests if possible. Yeah. So what would you say to
So
that?
like, yeah, for that specific example, I would write it. Think of like BuzzFeed, like I would honestly write like how to travel to Paris with 3 kids. And that would be my headline if that's the title, if we talk about that in that episode. Like if I have an episode on that, that's what I would advertise. And, listen to this, a story of how this mom of 3 kids travels and lives in Paris with her kid, like that whole thing.
Yep.
And then have the image of mom and kids in Paris, like
Okay.
that kind of thing. So I would stick to like a specific topic that, because travel is so broad. And then even when you're targeting in that audience, target those bloggers that are mom bloggers, target people. You can even go in and you can say, if your audience is people who are going to take vacations, not people who are full-time travelers, you can go in and target, and Facebook has an option that says people who have taken vacation in the last 6 months. And so you can put that in. You can target parents, you can target moms, you can put in age. I mean, you can go all the way down to their income. I don't recommend that, but like there's a lot of options. Yeah.
I remember the first time I went into the Facebook ads manager, and it was just like that, you hear the news stories about all the data that Facebook has, and you go in there and when you can target it yourself and you're like, wow, okay, how did they get all this? And it's kind of scary.
And then they buy data from other companies that, credit agencies sell data to Facebook. And so it's not all Facebook, if that makes you feel a little bit better.
I don't know that it does, but on the flip side, it's like, this is all available to us.
That's why I'm like, when people are like all about like, oh yeah, I turned the Wi-Fi off on my phone, I don't want people tracking me, and like I kind of laugh on the inside. I'm like, good luck.
And then you just start to mess with them and send them specific tailored ads just to like,
they're like, oh, I can find you.
From Ellen, I'm still tracking you.
No, it's and in my mind, like what I do is like I'm showing people things that they're already looking for. Like I'm not gonna like bombard someone with spam. That's the whole purpose of the targeting with the audience and knowing who your audience is. It's because you know that they already like you, and you're not gonna be a negative influence in their life. It's something that's gonna improve their life, that's help them, give them good information. So it's a positive thing. And that's the whole thing with the regulations on Facebook now we were talking about, is like if you're doing it properly and with the good intentions, then you won't run into any problems.
Awesome. So that was everything that I had on my list of questions. So anybody else who has anything they'd like to ask now? Michael's got something. What do you got, Michael?
I was actually just looking at the trending thing, and Elon Musk has deleted Facebook.
I saw that.
For Tesla and SpaceX.
Oh, no.
I find it interesting. There seems to be and I don't know if it's an actual trend or not, but we know for the first time Facebook is seeing a decline in numbers. And we're seeing some of these large names who could be considered movers and shakers. I think Elon Musk is something of a trendsetter in some sectors. Is there a way that we should be perhaps positioning ourselves? For a long time, I work for a nonprofit, and the podcast is a part of that. Facebook was our go-to, hands down. If just posting something on Facebook got a huge boost to the numbers. Any kind of advertising got huge boost to the numbers. Now, all of those numbers are way low. And that's, I think, a result of all the algorithm changes, but also some societal changes. Is there a way we can be positioning ourselves to combat that, or at least mitigate the effects of that through advertising or any other sort of options?
Yeah, so there's two things to that. One is with Facebook, with Google, any of those, like even Google AdWords and stuff, like you do not own those platforms. They are not your audience. The only audience that you own is the email list. So I'm a huge proponent. Use Facebook to build your email list, because you don't own anything until you own an email list. So that if you want to be future-proof, build your email list. Then the other thing with that is Facebook is, in my opinion, like I know that people are leaving it. I know that the younger generation doesn't necessarily have Facebooks right now, but what is the alternative in my mind? There is no, it's still by far, I think it's 3 times the amount of more users than any other social media platform. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So still use it, still use the ads. I know the algorithm changes suck. They do, but it's a pay-to-play world, and any platform. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Google, like you have to pay to get audiences now. And their businesses are making money, which is why it's important for you to own your email list so you don't always have to pay them to reach your audience. So I would still use Facebook. And then the other thing I would say is build up your Instagram, because Instagram, I know similar things are kind of happening with Instagram. People are getting frustrated and stuff with it again, but it's still growing. The user base is growing. And the ads, I see really good return on results with those, and it's really easy to do. You just go, when you're running your Facebook campaign, you just check the box that says Instagram. It's really easy. So build up your Instagram account and keep posting on it, Facebook, and keep being active. If you're active, even though I know it says like, oh, you only reach sometimes only 10 people, keep posting, keep being organic, upload post into Buffer where they just automatically get scheduled out. And I honestly think that I don't know if you've been reading too many of the articles and stuff right now about the stuff that happened with the election and things like that, but they are going to be changing the algorithm again. And there's speculation that you'll either, one or two things will happen. One, you'll see more Facebook pages that just ones that are not politically related, or they actually are testing, I think it was some country that people were saying that they were testing running an entire feed that was just Facebook pages. So it was like a different feed that you could look at. They're always going to be testing and doing different things, but build up your email list, use it while you can, use Facebook while you can, and use Instagram while you can. And it's still the biggest one out there. Like, Elon Musk is not going to change it. Like, I mean, he's great. I love him. But like, it wasn't his audience to begin with, probably. You know? He's more of a Twitter guy, I would say. You know, so if I was talking to Elon and telling him where he should be advertising, I'd say Twitter. But just, you know, Facebook is still there. Still use it for your advantage. And yeah, I mean, Google AdWords is good, but I don't think for podcasts. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anybody else got questions? Yeah, Alan, you're probably shaking your boots after hearing that. Maybe potentially fewer political related posts.
I know, I'm sorry.
Adam, you had a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
I think you can hear me.
Yep.
I know I came in just a little late, but have you already talked at all a little bit more about how I could use Facebook, or more importantly, Instagram, to boost my email list, which is something I definitely need to focus on?
Yeah, so I think the best way to boost your email list with Facebook ads and Instagram ads is create a freebie, create a free ebook, that create something that's your audience is going to love. Maybe take your most popular episode or top 3 episodes or whatever, look at them and say, what is it about these episodes that people like? And what can I create that is a resource that adds on to it? That's a good place to start. That's the same thing I tell people with their blog posts, you know, is like, if you have a really popular blog post, it's popular for a reason. So what kind of free resource can you give in conjunction with that? And then create a Facebook ad for it. The other thing is, I was reading about the pros and cons of like sending people, it's the same thing with other things too, but podcasts, I think in particular, is when you're sending them to the link that's not on your website, you're sending them to iTunes or Stitcher or whatever. Excuse me. So if you can create show notes pages on your website and you want to test maybe running some Facebook ads to that page to listen to the episode, then maybe you could capture people's email list when they're already on your website. Maybe they'll look around. But again, like the only way to be for sure you'll get an email is if you're doing a free download. But yeah,
all right.
That's the different ways you can boost your email list.
Cool. Tom, Alan, or Amani?
Nothing on my end, thank you.
Well, you pretty much answered my question when you got into the politics stuff, because this has been a big concern of mine, initially from even just, you know, a couple months ago, and then even in the last week, it seems like it's getting even worse. So that was my main question, and I sort of suspected that was going to be your answer without me even asking it.
Yeah, I think it's early to tell. right now. I know that there's speculation that they actually already know the people that are creating fake articles and stuff, and that they're already blocking those posts and blocking those pages. Again,
That's why none of Alan's stuff ever comes through. They're on.
Isn't it weird?
Well, I think that, like if you are genuinely putting out information that is helpful and valuable, just keep doing your thing. Keep doing what is right, and then see how everything kind of shakes out.
Right.
Because there's always probably things you could do later on. Like, let's say they totally say no political ads. Well, you can phrase your ad that it's an interview with a person and just focus on that part of it, and not just that it's about politics.
Okay, that's a good tactic. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can change the copy and that type of thing to focus more on the person, because they're not going to stop showing ads from NPR, Washington Post, New York Times, and that's what they do. They talk about the story over the headline of the cable news perspective.
Right.
Yeah. So think more like a newspaper versus a cable news is what I would suggest.
All right. I'll try that. See, fingers crossed.
Yeah. And just who knows, it's hard to tell how everything's going to shake out. But again, just keep being on the right side of things, and hopefully that the good person will get rewarded.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to think so.
I know.
Thanks.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah. So
my
question was more, my question was more on the geographical targeting. If you have a specific guest that's in a specific location, so you kind of covered that already earlier. I don't know if you had anything else to add, but for example, if I had a guest who's really popular in Cincinnati, do you really focus on the suburbs and the cities in Cincinnati, or kind of what was your strategy? You spoke about it before, so I don't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, so if your guest is really popular in Cincinnati, they have a well-known face in that area, then just put in the zip code. I would target by zip code, or put in Cincinnati, but there's suburbs always all around cities and things like that. So I would just look up the zip codes around the area, and you can put all those in and see how big. You can put in a radius too. You can say 25 miles outside of Cincinnati and target those people. But what I would do is create that as an ad set. So I would test targeting that geographic area as an ad set, along with separate ad sets that are just your normal warm traffic and cold traffic ad sets, just to see how they do. And if it doesn't work, then don't do it again. Or if it does great, then you just add it and you do it with every campaign. But that way your whole campaign is not built off of that one thing that you're testing.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Michael, did you have something else there?
Did I not? Oh, I turned off my mic because I'm smart. I have a quick follow-up. Something I've noticed in my insights on the likes, we've had a lot of unlikes, which was really surprising to me. And I've been following what it is. And our unlikes from page posts or newsfeed is maybe one, a week. It's almost non-existent. But we had, and I'm looking at one day this week, I had 19 unlikes for suspicious account removals and 6 for deactivated or memorialized account removals. And I actually get more overall from the deactivated or memorialized account removals. Is Facebook doing some kind of sweep right now as part of all of this to try and just get rid of accounts?
There's a speculation that they're going through and taking out accounts that are fake. They have a list of accounts that are fake. And the same thing happened on Twitter. I don't know if you remember, a whole bunch. There was a big thing about that. I won't get too into, but Twitter happened. They went through and deleted a bunch of bots. So Facebook is doing a similar thing. Also, they're playing around with the algorithm, and they're showing more Facebook pages in the news feeds than they have before. So I noticed this recently, which made me look it up and read about it a little bit. It was a page that I had liked maybe when I was in high school, and I was like, what in the world is this? And I haven't seen this in years, and that happened a few times. So finally I just Googled what is Facebook doing? They are putting more Facebook page posts in your newsfeed that you haven't noticed, that you haven't looked at in a while. And so that could be causing people to look at it and be like, oh, well, I haven't watched this in a while, or I'm not really interested in this anymore, so I'm going to unlike.
Okay, and could that date back? I remember it might be 3 or 4 years ago now. Facebook, when I can't remember the term, but it was buying likes pretty much. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of speculation at the time that it was just someone in Asia pretty much on a farm type situation with 20 computers just liking things and somehow collecting remuneration for that.
Yeah.
Could this also be linked? Like, is it all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
too? Is it just
Those
this
are
massive?
bots. Yeah, those are all bots. Same thing happens on Instagram, Twitter. That's why I never, like, I wouldn't say never, but it's hard for me to trust. Like, you know, you see those like Instagram people who have 50,000 followers and they only have like 5 posts. You know, yeah, it's the same thing. It's farms and bots.
Yeah, it's like those horrible business podcasters, right, Jeremy?
Oh, tell me about it.
Hey,
Almost as bad.
Business people.
Almost as bad as the political ones. Awesome. Well, anybody else have anything? I think I've got, I asked all the questions that I had and that people had posted in the group. So if nobody else has anything, thanks so much for all the info, Ellen. This was really helpful for me. I've already dug around in Facebook ads before and done a lot of research, and there's a few comments there that made me think a lot about Facebook ads differently. So
good, yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone has any questions or anything, like you can just message me or whatever too. I'm in the group and stuff too. So.
And where can people find your website or more about you?
Yeah. So right now my website's being redone. I'm changing things around, but you can always just message me on Facebook. And then I have a Facebook page too that, don't judge, I don't have very many likes because I don't run Facebook. It's always for myself. I'm like, you know, the maker with no shoes. But you can still just message me on Facebook and stuff.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, thanks again for doing this. And I'm sure there's going to be people with questions maybe after the fact. So if you're watching the replay, feel free to post questions on the replay link or just in the group. And I'm sure Ellen or anybody else who happens to know about Facebook ads would be happy to answer those.